Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build. So today I am building another family home, and this time I am actually building in the world of Windenburg, which I feel like I have not built in this world in a very long time, at least for this channel. I know I built here kind of recently on my CC channel, but on my main channel, I feel like it's been a while. I actually can't remember the last time. So I thought that I would go ahead and build here. And what I decided to do was build a cozy family house. Basically, I was trying to think of like a different sort of family than I typically build for. And I've definitely done this a couple of times, but I think only for apartments. So I felt like it was kind of refreshing in a way, but I was thinking the family that lives here is an aunt and an uncle, or a husband and wife, and they recently adopted their nephew. And so they are raising their nephew, and I'm not sure what happened and you know, where his parents are necessarily, or, you know, just basically the story around that. But I was thinking for the aunt and the uncle, they are, I think they're quite like smart people. I feel like they're academics. Like, I think the husband is a professor, and I think the wife is a musician. I think she does like classical shows and plays the piano and like the violin. I forgot to include a violin in here, but she probably has it in her inventory. But I did create a standing piano with the keyboard and a couple of side tables like I've done in the past, and I thought that looked really good. And yeah, I just think that they never had kids, or if they have had kids before, I believe maybe like something tragic happened and like they no longer have their child. Like, I think maybe there was like one child once, I believe, and I think they probably died really young. And I hate saying that because it's such a tragic story, but of course it's a realistic story. Things like that do happen sometimes, and I kind of liked that idea for this family, and that explains maybe why they never had kids. And so yeah, I feel like they're kind of adjusting to their nephew living with them now, and they're very happy to take care of him and step in and be there for him and be his parents basically. And like I mentioned recently in a video, I've been watching a lot of Stranger Things, and so I was thinking for the teenager, he's kind of along the lines of the character Billy, if you guys are familiar with him in season 3 and 4-ish a little bit. But anyways, I finally finished all the seasons and I'm very excited. I can't wait for the next one. But anyways, so Billy in that show, I won't tell any spoilers, so don't worry. He's just kind of rough around the exterior. He's quite aggressive. I don't think this teenager is like as aggressive as he is, or as angry. Maybe as angry, but not as mean necessarily to people he cares for. But he's hurt, and he's had probably a rough time of it, and that's probably why he has moved in with his aunt and uncle. And so he's just a bit hurt basically. But I think deep down he does mean well, but he's kind of basically put up a defense mechanism, and so he's not let himself get really close to people. And so I think that's kind of like a nice story, and maybe like a nice jumping off point for the Sims to maybe step in and show him that he's loved basically. But I think that would be like a fun story and a fun household to play with. And that's kind of just what I was thinking about as I was building it, because I basically was just looking at Pinterest and I found a painting, and I'll put it up on screen so you guys can see what I was looking at. And I was really inspired to build the house that I saw. And yeah, as I was building it, I was just trying to imagine the Sims that live here. And really, I didn't have a solid idea till like the very end as I was like decorating the bedrooms. But I knew I wanted there to be like an older couple living here. Like, I think the aunt and the uncle are not elders, but I think they're definitely both grown adults. And so I tried picking more mature decorations, more traditional decorations, mostly just because I thought that would fit the house really nicely. But also I thought it would fit the Sims really nicely too, because I think they just prefer that sort of decorating style. They're not really into things that are super modern. I think they like modern touches here and there, but they live in this world, they live in this house because they like more traditional things. So yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. But as you guys can see, the house has came together. I'm kind of figuring out the floor plan before I finish the back of the house and place like the rest of the windows and doors and everything. I actually really ended up loving this floor plan. I think it's actually kind of a unique floor plan, which makes me happy, because sometimes I feel like things can get a little bit repetitive. I mean, I don't think any build is necessarily exactly the same that I've done, but there's similarities, and sometimes I feel like those similarities can span across multiple builds, and sometimes things can feel a bit repetitive sometimes, but this one I definitely felt like was a unique house, and I also think part of the reason for that is just because I don't build in this world that often, but I definitely should build here more because it's so pretty, and I love the style of homes that you can build here, like these more Tudor style houses. They just blend in, of course, really nicely with the atmosphere, and they're really fun to build, and they just feel so like cozy and everything. But here you can see I'm continuing with the landscaping around the back of the house, and I also used a lot of like flooring tile, basically like concrete and stone ones, just to try to make it blend in with the surrounding world. And I really didn't want this house to have like a huge yard, just because I felt like it didn't really match the build. I do end up removing some of the stone at the back of the house just to have like a bit of a yard space, but really I didn't think that it really suited this build very much, which is kind of surprising. Usually I do like a lot of yard space, even in like a more city area, but I just kind of felt like, yeah, for this lot, it didn't really make too much sense to have like a whole lot of grass. But back here in this empty spot, I decided to use the tool mod to place a tree back here just because I felt like that space was kind of awkward. It really has nothing to do with the build basically, and it won't be there if you download the build because it's off the lot. But for me in the neighborhood, I just felt like there needed to be a big tree back there. So if you have the tool mod, maybe you'll want to place one there. I thought this tree actually worked really nicely, and it came with get-togethers. So if you have this expansion pack, then you have that tree, and it's a live edit object tree, so it won't be in just like the regular catalog. You'll have to find it either if you have the Better Build and Buy system. You can find it really easily, but also through the cheats, the show live edit objects cheats. But anyways, here I'm finally moving on to the interior. I just picked out the flooring, and I'm picking out basically how things are going to go necessarily. I decided to remove this window over here so I could put a fireplace along this wall. For me, with the floor plan, it made the most sense to have the fireplace over here. When I was originally building the exterior, I thought that the fireplace would probably end up where the chimney is, but it didn't work out that way. But thankfully, it's The Sims, so it doesn't really matter if the chimney and the fireplace are necessarily in the exact location or within a line of each other. So it worked out pretty nicely. Here I decided to switch up that door that's leading to the back of the house. The one that I was using, I believe, came with Get to Work, maybe, but anyways, it didn't have like the right color of brown, but thankfully we have a base game one that is essentially the same door that matched the windows and everything pretty nicely. I tried to not go overly matchy with the woods in here. As you may notice, like the wainscoting has a different wood tone than like the windows, and then the floor has a different wood tone, but I think somehow they kind of all tie together in a way. Hopefully they do, at least that's what I was feeling as I was decorating it. But here I'm just picking out the furniture in the living room. I really loved this combination of furniture. I think this wallpaper from Cottage Living with this green rug from the Werewolves pack, and then the high back chair from Cats and Dogs, and then these adorable couches that came with High School Years. I just thought this whole combination was so cute. The only thing I really didn't like was the curtains, but I do end up switching those here in just a little while. I felt like they were just a bit much. I think it's like the color of them. I think if they may have came in like a beigey sort of brown color, I probably would have kept them, but they were just a bit too bright and loud basically. But here I'm just picking out some clutter items to put on the coffee table, and then over here I do have a old-fashioned stereo that came with Get Famous, and I thought this looked so pretty over here, and it definitely kind of spurred on my idea that one of the Sims that lives here is definitely into music. And like I said, I think that's the aunt of the household. I think she is a professional musician, and yeah, so she likes to listen to music as well as play it. So I thought that was kind of nice to have. But here I switched up the curtains. These ones are definitely still pretty heavy, and so that's what makes me think it was just the color of those ones, because they were kind of heavy, I felt, but the color of these ones worked really nicely, and they look so old-fashioned, and I think just suit like the interior style so much better. And then over here is going to be a little office space, and I really like the way the office turned out. I have a computer desk in here that has, of course, a computer, but I use this one that looks like a typewriter because I think the uncle of the house, since he's a professor, I feel like maybe he even does some like research and like writing. Maybe he writes like textbooks or something, or does some sort of writing along those lines, and he really likes the feel and like basically the classicness of writing on a typewriter, and he's not so into like modern technology. I think the aunt is a little bit more into that, and she probably knows a little bit more about modern technology, but the uncle, he likes the classic stuff. And yeah, so he likes the typewriter computer, even though it's still definitely just a regular computer. And then over here is going to be the hallway leading to the rest of the house, like the dining room, the kitchen, and then also the staircases right here. And then the entryway is like its own little separate room, but I thought that turned out to be super cute. And then I just picked out some wall lights and different decorations to put along like the walls here. I don't know, hallways are always so like, what do you do with them basically? But this one I definitely wanted it to be fully decorated because it's like in the main entryway of the house, but I think it came together really nicely. I especially like that side table over there with the lamp and the really pretty plant that came from the paranormal stuff pack. I thought that looked really like just a nice combination over there, especially with the painting that I put above it. Over here I kind of fiddled around with this area trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I ended up placing that really cool wall decoration that we recently got in the everyday clutter kit that has like the mail and the keys hanging from it. I thought that was so cute right there. And then over here is going to be the entryway. So in the entryway I just put like a mirror, some shoes, I put a really nice coat rack, the one that came from, I think that one came from, no, not Seasons, it came from Laundry Day. So I put that in there, and then just some other random decorations, that really nice purse decoration that came with the everyday clutter kit. I thought that looked really good over there. And then over here is going to be the dining room. So the dining room has this full dining table basically that can fit 6 Sims. I thought that was kind of nice, and it was a really good size dining room, I thought. And I loved the combination of this table that came with Get Together and then these chairs that came from Cottage Living. I thought they just paired together really nicely, even though the wood tones aren't exactly the same. But like I said, I really tried to use a lot of different wood tones, but I think somehow all of the mixed matched pieces work in the end. And then I just put some different decorations here trying to fill in the space. And then here on the table I end up placing this flower that came from Cottage Living, but then I go through and find these candles that came from Eco Lifestyle, just like the ones that your Sims can craft. Here I was like going through the regular buy catalog trying to find another candle, but none of them really fit the way I wanted it to. So I just put a bunch of them on here, and then when I take the screenshots I went ahead and set the different like burn levels. So some of them I put just like a little bit burned, and then half, and then like all the way down just like a little stub of a candle left. And I thought that looked really good, and I thought that just kind of was a nice little touch. And then over here is where I end up placing that piano that I was talking about. So of course we still don't have a standing piano. I really just don't understand that. I feel like we should have one by now. It seems kind of like ridiculous to be honest. Like I feel like it's something that is like so obvious to have in the game, and we have like 4 grand pianos now, and there's too many of them. I don't think we need another one. We need a standing piano, but thankfully you can use move objects and kind of create your own, and it totally functions. It doesn't look perfect, but I think it looks pretty good. And so I liked the way it looked over here, and I thought this little like modern window cutout of the house was kind of like a nice place to put it. When I originally made this spot, I thought that I would make like a seating area, but when I went to go decorate it, I just felt like that would be kind of a waste of the space because it's a really pretty space, and I didn't want your Sims just to be able to sit there. So there is a chair there, your Sims can sit there, but there's also the piano, so it's a little bit more functional. And then over here is going to be the kitchen. And for the kitchen, I was originally going to use those green cabinets that I think came from Vampires, if I remember correctly, but I just felt like the green wasn't right. So I decided to use this stove and refrigerator that came from the Country Kitchen kit. And I think the green on these, while not like the exact green I was looking for, they worked much better, and it still brought some of that green into the kitchen area. And then I just used some base game counters and cabinets that I thought looked nice because they're brown, and I thought that all matched pretty nicely. And then in here I do clutter up the counters, not too much though. I didn't want it to feel like overly cluttered or messy, but I definitely wanted this house to feel lived in, like the Sims have been actively using the kitchen for a very long time. So I put a few things around, but I don't think it was too much. Something that I do end up doing is putting a few things over here on top of the microwave, because I thought that was kind of like a nice touch just to show a little bit extra clutter and detail. And I thought this ended up being so cute over here, and I used the tool mod to place them exactly where I wanted to, and I thought that turned out pretty nicely. For some reason these two like casserole dishes didn't raise together, even though they weren't I don't know, they weren't like snapped to anything, but they were kind of being weird, but thankfully I made it work. And then over there I just placed those really nice dirty coffee cups that came from the Everyday Clutter kit next to the kitchen sink. So they're just a few cups that need to be washed. And then above the door in here, I did place that fishing decoration that came from the Everyday Clutter kit again. I used quite a few stuff from that kit because it is awesome. If you guys did not see, I did build an apartment using that kit and also the other one, the pastel or pop pastel kit. I think I might be mixing up the name a little bit, but anyways, I mainly used that one in the apartment, but I did use the Everyday Clutter kit a little bit too. But I just think they're both so fun, and I love just having that extra clutter. It's so nice. But I thought that fishing decoration was maybe like a bit of good luck to have it above the door for maybe just good luck to fishing. So I thought maybe one of the Sims was into fishing, but I didn't really add anything else in the house that had to do with fishing, so no like fish plaques or anything. But maybe that's not their style. Maybe they don't like to mount them, but maybe they like to fish for like eating purposes. And so I thought that was kind of a fun idea. And then here I'm moving on to the second floor, just picking out some decorations for the upstairs hallway. Mostly it's artwork, but I do have a bookcase in here, and I have a wall light and a lamp. And then I'm using this rug that came from Vampires. I really love how it's in multiple pieces, so you can make it as long as you would like to. I wish they would do more like hallway runners like this in different styles, because I would definitely get a lot of use out of them, I think. And then over here, I'm quickly decorating the upstairs bathroom. I talked over the downstairs one, but the downstairs one is a little bit bigger than this one upstairs, but they're both essentially the same. They have the same shower, sink, and toilet. But yeah, I think they turned out to be pretty nice. They're nothing too crazy, I think. And then over here is going to be the bedrooms. So this long, awkward shaped bedroom is going to be the room for the aunt and the uncle, and then the smaller bedroom is going to be for the teenager. And I decided to go with another green wallpaper because I used green throughout the rest of the house, but this one came from Vampires and the other one came from Cottage Living. And then yeah, so for the aunt and uncle's bedroom, I decided to use this bed that came from Cats and Dogs because of course it's green, but I also thought like the wood frame and everything just kind of matched really nicely. Over here, I felt like the placement of the door was making the room even more awkward, so I just moved the door forward a little bit, and then I put a vanity table over here, and I just cluttered it up with a few different decorations, mostly things that came again with the Everyday Clutter kit, like this really nice display that has some glasses and a watch on it, and then this nice little dish that has like coins and papers, and then a dirty coffee cup because I just couldn't help myself. I just am completely obsessed that we have dirty coffee cups now, and clean ones too, but the dirty ones are definitely more fun. In the group of 3 of them though, there is a teacup that has like a tea bag hanging out of it, and unfortunately we didn't get that one isolated by itself. It's stuck to the 3 of them. I would have loved that one, but I like the other ones too. And then over here I do have a dresser for the Sims, and I'm just cluttering up the top of it with a bunch of different decorations. I really liked sizing down this ballerina statue. I did it also on top of the piano, and I thought that looked really nice, and so I decided to do it again in here. And I just think it looks like a really nice, like cute statue, and I feel like we don't have enough just like regular statue decorations, but thankfully we can size objects up and down, and you can use the bracket key to do this. So if you don't have the tool mod, you can definitely just use the bracket keys. The left bracket will size something down, the right bracket will size something up. And then over here I do put the same chair that I used in the living room, and I just put a little knitting basket next to it. And then yeah, over here is going to be the teens room. So like I was saying, I imagined the Billy character from Stranger Things, not as mean, but definitely still as like hurt and rough, I think. And so I tried adding a couple of decorations that kind of showed that. I put a punching bag in here just to show that the Sim needs to take out their aggressions, but I also put a broken mirror in here, the one that came from Werewolves, because I think probably at one point he punched the mirror. But other than that, I put a lot of sports clutter in here, and basically the reason I did this was because with the Everyday Clutter kit, we did get some new like sports related decorations, and I wanted to use them in here. I didn't use like everything that came from the Everyday Clutter kit that's sports related, but I used a few of them. Some of them I just didn't really think suited the Sim really nicely, like the yoga mat, and then there was one that had like a little box of gym stuff. It was cute and everything, but it just felt a little bit too organized for a teen's room, so I decided not to use it. And then other than that, I just basically tried to find decorations from other packs that had like sports equipment or sports posters or just different decorations that I thought suited a teenager. And I especially loved this box with the shoes like spilling out of it. I thought that looked pretty cute. And then over here on top of the dresser, I just like basically arranging the different clutter pieces. I have a TV over here. And then I placed this poster that came from high school years. I thought that was pretty perfect. I wanted to use the other poster that came with high school years, like the cluster of them, but the colors just weren't quite right. They were a bit more neon and I didn't think it suited the Sims style, so decided not to use it. And then over here I'm using this wall shelf with some hanging clothes. I wasn't sure if the Sim would be able to reach the dresser, so I thought this was kind of like a nice way to create another dresser. So they just have a few clothes hanging up, and then over here they do have a desk, and then I'm just picking out different like posters and decorations. That was the like cluster of posters that I was talking about. It had like some cool like football images, but the colors were just a bit too vibrant and it just threw off like the style of the room for me. So I decided not to. But yeah, that's it for the interior. And then here on the exterior, I did put a couple of decorations here on the front porch, like a nice little chair, a plant, and a couple of lights. I did forget an outdoor trash can and a mailbox, so I do place those before taking the screenshots. I just put the trash can in the backyard, and then I put the mailbox right next to one of the pillars here at the front, and I think it should still function. It seemed to when I was playtesting the build and like taking the screenshots and everything. The mail person did come by and it seemed to work, so hopefully you guys won't run into any issues, but if not, of course, that's an easy fix. And then here at the back of the build, I really had no idea what I wanted to do, but I do end up keeping an outdoor dining table, not this one. I actually ended up using one from Backyard Stuff that has like the really modern umbrella, but I actually liked the way it looked, so you'll see that here in just a little bit. And then I also placed a woodworking table, a few planter pots, and then just a few like gardening related decorations. And then I also put a rocking chair by the back door, which I thought was pretty cute with a little knitting basket next to it. And then like I mentioned, I do remove some of this stone tile and create a little bit of a yard space. But here I'm picking out some of those like gardening related decorations because I thought maybe one of the Sims likes to do a bit of gardening, just a little bit. It's not like a super big hobby. And then also somebody likes to do some woodworking. But this is the table that I was talking about. I don't know, I really didn't think I was going to keep it once I placed it, but I don't know, I think I kind of liked it, so I decided to leave it. And then here I'm just adding a little bit more landscaping, and then this is it for the build. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and hopefully you guys do enjoy the screenshots. So thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions you have. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!
Counting steps to the back porch, same song.